97.3 Citi FM. This is Eyewitness News, live from our studios here in Accra. I am Ni Lati here tonight with
Hawa Idrisu Mustafa.
And coming up over the next 90 minutes,
we will abolish the 10% withholding tax on winning from lottery, otherwise known as the betting tax. We will abolish the electronic transfer levy, e-levy of 1%.
Mahama government's first budget sees the removal of e-levy, COVID-19 levy and betting tax. We bring you other highlights of what that budget has for you as a Ghanaian. Meanwhile, minority in parliament denies ever implementing betting tax during its tenure.
Betting tax that they said they have abolished. We never collected betting tax. We never implement the betting tax. So to come and tell Ghanaians that you have abolished something that was not implemented is to deceive the people of Ghana.
We hear from the minority in parliament tonight, and later, Minister for Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs attribute delay in announcing the successful MDCEs to the high volume of petitions received during the vetting process. Stay with us here on 97.3 Citi FM for more on these stories and other stories, and later in business.
Government set end-of-year inflation target at 11.9%.
That will be in the next 50 minutes from the Citi Business Desk. Eyewitness News is broadcasting not only in the capital, Accra. We are also live across the country on our partner stations, including Tumpani Radio 88.5 FM in Nadoli, Jirapa 96.1 FM, also in the Upper West region. In the Upper East region, we are live on Recast 92.1 FM in Bongo Namo. In the Northern region, this is North Star Radio 92.1 in Tamale, Nobia FM 98.1 in Nalerigu in the Northeast region. If you are listening to us in the Western region, we are live on Beach 105.5 FM in Takrade, Ashanti region, Focus 94.3 FM on the KNUST campus in Kumasi, as well as Orange 107.9 FM also in Kumasi. In the Volta region, this is Stella Radio 97.1 FM in Dabala and Holy FM 98.5 FM in Aplao. In the Savannah region, this is Kasha 99.5 FM in Damango. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. I am Lati here with Hawa Idrisu Mustafa, who brings us our very first story.
Government has announced plans to abolish the electronic transaction levy and the 10% tax on lottery winnings, also known as betting tax. The Finance Minister, Dr. Kasia Olatoforsen, made the announcement when he presented the first budget of the John Dramani Mahama administration. Speaking on the floor of Parliament, Dr. Forsen indicated that the removal of these taxes is intended to ease the burden on households and improve their disposable incomes.
Despite our commitment to increase the non-oil tax revenue by 0.6%, we have programmed the following nuisance taxes for removal in line with our manifesto promise. Mr. Speaker, we will abolish the 10% withholding tax on winning from lottery, otherwise known as the betting tax. Mr. Speaker, we will abolish the electronic transfer levy, e-levy of 1%. Mr. Speaker, we will abolish the 10% withholding tax on betting. We will abolish the electronic transfer levy, e-levy of 1%. We will abolish the emission levy, otherwise as in Wusie tax. We will abolish the VAT on motor vehicle insurance policy. Mr. Speaker, we will abolish the 1.5% withholding tax on unprocessed gold by small-scale miners. Mr. Speaker, the removal of these taxes will ease the burden on households and improve their disposable income. Right, Honorable Speaker, The removal of these taxes will ease the burden on households and improve their disposable incomes. In addition, it will support business growth and improve tax compliance.
Dr. Tuforson also added that government will undertake comprehensive value-added tax reforms this year with the aim to review the current distortions and cascading structure of the VAT regime.
We commit to the people of Ghana and this House, the business community, that we will undertake a comprehensive value-added tax reform this year. Mr. Speaker, with the aim to review the current distortions and cascading structure of the value-added tax regime. Ghana's effective rate, VAT rate is about 22%. This is obviously because the 2.5% Get Fund levy, the National Health Insurance levy of 2.5%, and the COVID levy are well added to the base for a final determination of what is due for VAT purposes. Mr. Speaker, aside the high VAT rate, businesses are not permitted by law to claim their input VAT for NHIL, Get Fund, and COVID levy, compounding the burden on households. Right, Honourable Speaker, our VAT regime has been distorted and rendered inefficient. It combines both VAT and sales tax principles with a flat rate, standard rate, and levies. We have requested for technical assistance from the Fiscal Affairs Department of the IMF on VAT reforms. It is expected that the IMF mission will commence in April 2025. The recommendations from the Technical Assistance Mission are expected to inform our reform. Mr. Speaker, ahead of the IMF's mission, I will inaugurate a VAT reform task force to hold broad consultation with key stakeholders for their input. Mr. Speaker, the parameters for VAT reform will be to is for them to complete this year. Mr. Speaker, and upwardly adjusting the VAT registration threshold to exempt micro and small businesses from the collection of VAT. Mr. Speaker, will also improve compliance through public education and awareness.
The minister said the increase in energy sector financing shortfalls is posing significant fiscal risks to the country's finances. To address the energy sector challenges, Dr. Tuforson said energy sector recovery program interventions will be implemented to improve the sector.
To address the energy sector challenges, including reducing the quantum of large energy sector shortfalls, the following energy sector recovery program interventions will be implemented this year. First, Mr. Speaker, ECG and NEDCO will implement a number of measures, including metering and implementation of private sector participation. Mr. Speaker, we will also implement the liquid fuel to gas swap through an increase in N gas supply from 60 MMSC per day to 100 MMSC to take advantage of cheaper gas prices and others. Mr. Speaker, we will complete the IPP capacity renegotiation to generate some savings through negotiated lower fixed capacity charges and variable O&M charges.
The finance minister also outlined key policy initiatives and interventions of the John Mahama administration, including support for victims of the Akosombo Dam spillage and the tidal wave disaster in the Ketu South constituency of the Volta region.
We have allocated again an amount of 242.5 million Ghana cedis to support the victim of Akosombo Dam spillage. Right, Honourable Speaker, we have also allocated an amount of 200 million Ghana cedis to support the victim of tidal wave disaster that recently displaced resident in certain part of Ketu South constituency.
Dr. Forson also revealed an allocation of over 400 million cedis to support first-year tertiary students, including reimbursement for their fees. He also added efforts to uncap the Ghana Education Trust Fund, which is Get Fund, increase funding for the school feeding program, and provision of free sanitary pads for female students.
An amount of 499.8 million Ghana cedis has been allocated for the non-academic fee policy for all first-year students in public tertiary institutions under the no fee stress initiative. We have allocated an amount of 292.4 million Ghana cedis to commence the distribution of free sanitary pads to female students in primary and secondary schools. The overarching concern about free secondary education has been its quality and the absence of a dedicated sources of funding. His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama has resolved the funding challenges by uncapping the GET fund. Mr. Speaker, this makes available dedicated funding for full financing of free senior secondary school education and free tertiary education for persons with disability.
To cut waste, the finance minister said expenditure items of the previous government, including Ghana Cares, USTAT, and One District, One Factory, will be eliminated. Additionally, the functions of the development authorities, that is CODA, NDA, and MBDA, will be reassigned to the district assemblies.
Mr. Speaker, the following expenditure measures will be implemented in 2025 and the medium term to support fiscal consolidation agenda. First, we will conduct a comprehensive audit to validate the quantum of arrests and commitment as at 31st December 2024. Mr. Speaker, the mandatory use of blanket purchase order to capture multi-year commitment contracts in line with our medium-term expenditure ceilings will be implemented. We will amend the Public Procurement Act to provide for an independent value for money office to scrutinize government procurement. Mr. Speaker, we will also work with Parliament to amend the Public Procurement Act to make commencement certificate and budgetary provision a prerequisite for all procurement that will be paid by the central government. Mr. Speaker, we will fully integrate GANEPS and GIFMIS to ensure that only MDA's projects and purchase orders that have approved budget and allotment can obtain procurement approvals. Mr. Speaker, we will operationalize the compliance desk at the Ministry of Finance to monitor reports on commitment and arrest accumulation. Mr. Speaker, aside that, we will publish a PFM league table for compliance purposes. We will strictly enforce sanctions under the sections 96 to 98 of the Public Financial Management Act for breaches of the PFM Act, specifically those that relate to arrest accumulation and commitment control. Right, Honourable Speaker, we will cut waste and we will cut it very deep. Mr. Speaker, in this regard, we have selected expenditure items including the Ghana Cares, the USTAT, One District, One Factory for complete elimination. Mr. Speaker, we will reassign the functions of development authorities such as Coastal Development Authority, the Northern Development Authority, the Middle Belt Development Authority to the district assemblies and do away with the development authorities. So, Speaker, we will amend the Petroleum Revenue Management Act to allocate all ABFA resources for infrastructure use, not for goods and services, but for infrastructure use. So, Speaker, the National Health Insurance will receive full allocation under the earmark funds capping and realignment act. So, Speaker, the road fund will receive full allocation under the earmark fund and capping and realignment act. So, Speaker, JNPC share of net carried and participating interest from 30, we will reduce the JNPC share of net carried and participating interest from 30% to 15% and fully restore transfers to GMPC under the earmark fund and capping alignment act. Right, Honourable Speaker, we'll be amending the Mineral Income and Investment Fund Act to ensure that 80% of the royalties originally maintained by MIF is transferred to the Consolidated Fund for Infrastructure Development. Right, Honourable Speaker, we will strengthen social protection through the implementation of new interventions such as the no academic fee policy for all first-year students in public tertiary institutions under the no fee stress initiative. Mr. Speaker, it also includes the free tertiary education for persons with disability, free primary health care, the Ghana Medical Trust Care, otherwise known as Mahama Care, and free sanitary pads for schoolgirls. Mr. Speaker,
that was the Finance Minister, Dr. Kassiola Tufosin, reacting to the 2025 budget statement and economic policy presentation. The Minority Caucus argued that the previous administration did not implement taxes such as VAT on motor insurance and betting tax, which the current administration is claiming to abolish. Here is former Finance Minister and MP for Karaga, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, addressing the press.
The minister announced that they are abolishing VAT on motor insurance. Ladies and gentlemen, we were already not collecting VAT on motor insurance. VAT on motor insurance was exempted. Rather, the minister was trying to be smart. They have reintroduced VAT on non-life insurance, with the exception of the motor vehicle insurance. So all other insurance, given that the penetration of the insurance industry is just 1.1%, we are so shocked that the minister will reintroduce VAT on non-life insurance, except motor vehicle insurance. So let us not rejoice over the removal of these taxes, which what we did not expect was the reintroduction of VAT on insurance. They've also increased the growth ability levy from 1% to 3% for the mining sector and extended the sunset period from 2025 to 2028. When you heard the minister talking about growth, he said that the growth was influenced by the extractives. And so, how can you tax a sector which is giving you growth? The sector that is giving you growth is the sector you want to go and tax. This is not good for industry. This is not good.
Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam is MP for Karaga and former Finance Minister.
Indeed, it was a very big day in Parliament because the Mahama government was presenting its maiden budget statement and economic policy for Ghana, and it was coming on the back of a national economic dialogue which was organized last week. Also, a lot of engagement prior to the presentation of this budget. We saw the finance minister hosting spaces, also engaging traders at some market squares in the country, all in a bid to ensure that there was this form of inclusivity as far as the 2025 budget is concerned. But today really happened in Parliament, spending about 1 hour 40 minutes presenting the 2025 budget. Let's go to Parliament and then get more reaction from the presentation. Dr. Stephen Amwan is a former Deputy Finance Minister and also represents the people of Inshiaiso in the Ashanti region. He joins us tonight on Eyewitness News. Good evening to you, Honorable, and thank you for joining us on Eyewitness News. The government has finally presented its budget for the year ending 31st December 2025. Really, as a former Deputy Finance Minister, do you think that this budget, which has been presented by the new Mahama government, is what really is needed to fix the economy, which they said was broken?
Thank you very much. My regards to our viewers. Sorry, our listeners this very evening. I'm sorry. I think before I proceed to attempt to answer your question, first, I want us to deal with the establishment of the fact that our brothers from the side in government have finally vindicated us and exonerated us, because it was all over in the news before this budget, betrayed by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, that we had left an economy which was at the intensive care unit. But today, they told us we are growing 5.7, which is far higher than 2016's figure of 3.6. Our debt to GDP is 61.8. which is far, far better than 72.5 that they left for us. So I think there are so many things that now we are so very happy about that. Then coming back to your question, I think it depends on how they can actualize the budget. Because when you talk about budget, apart from the three main lines of revenue, expenditure, and the difference that gives you surplus or deficit, you need to also think about one factor, and that is whether they can actualize what they have promised the budget. And why I also think they may not even do anything better is their projections. Because they are projecting GDP growth of, I think, 4.4, if I heard them right, which is even rather below how we are growing, where we were growing 2024, what we left for them. In fact, almost all their targets, with the exception of, I think, foreign gross foreign assets, I think balance, all of them, they are giving projections less than they took over. So how can you be sure of the future of even economy going or doing better than they inherited under them? They might not have even, as well, not even taking the mandate at all. But of course, I mean, things change. They can change the way they are doing their things. And the promises they are giving, you ask yourself whether they are very realistic or feasible in terms of having the financial capacity and muscles to implement them is also another thing. But apart from that, I think we have to do let's wait and see. No wait and see bad thing. I will never be a prophet of doom. Because we want Ghana to move forward. We want to support them, we want to cooperate with them. If they will take our advice, we want to advise them and work with them in minority. And then make sure that we can build this country together if only they will listen to us. We want to add to the needed national cohesion. But what they have presented, there are other things that are not realistic. I think they have to revise their nose on that.
But before we come to the unrealistic things in the budget you say specifically to explain to us, let's talk about the macroeconomic indicators they've set, which you say are far below the economic indicators that the previous administration left off. So, for example, 2024 end year GDP growth rate 5.7, but they are trying as much as possible to end this year at 4.4%. Also, gross international reserves, which will cover import cover, 4 months of import cover the previous administration left. They are looking at 3 months of import cover. Aside from inflation that the previous government set a 15% inflation rate target, this government is looking at 11.9%. But if the government says that they want to end this year at 4.4%, isn't it an admission that they know that there are some lingering issues within the economy for which reason they want to manage their expectation? I'm saying that do you not think that it's because of some of the lingering issues in the global and domestic economy?
Global and domestic.
Exactly.
So when was the last time our brothers realized if what you say is represent what they mean? They realize that global economy could affect us. I mean, when the world had one of the most confronting, negatively in terms of impact on other nations and even particularly on Ghana as an import-driven economy, we told Ghanaians, nobody, even some of you still push those facts aside and were being kind of attacked left and right. Some of them were describing us with words and vocabularies that we thought that we did not even merit them. I mean, when the world grew, it was even growing negative 3.3. I mean, post-COVID inflation rate average in terms of percentage change moved into hundreds. And then that GDP moved to almost 100%. This affected us badly. I mean, we had impaired productivities in our country. We're even paying public service and civil servants in Ghana without even working. They were home. And when private sector sacked for 40,000 people, we had revenue shortfall about 12 billion, and we had a lot of issues when it comes to our market activity. And because of that, our debt to GDP moved up. We had hold out, and we had to resort to debt restructuring and all these. Nobody understood that. We were attacked, badly. And now we are talking about global stuff. No, we left a better economy for them. At least post-COVID, we had restored most of the neither primary macro indicators and even secondary macro indicators. A situation where industry was growing higher than even 2016, agriculture was growing higher than 2016. We're having primary balance being positive. We are doing all these things, making sure that, we left all these figures and performances for them to really appreciate the fact that we had really developed a very sound and befitting platform for them to build on, to ensure continuity. I was expecting them to rather have projections higher than what we left for them, but for them to give projections below ours, then they need to come again and explain to us why they are projecting below what they have inherited. Because I think practically there are a lot of questions about that. Whether they have pieces of information we don't have, whether they are not sure of their promises and the programs they are putting, whether they are not putting in place very befitting strategies or whatever, or they don't even believe in their own figures or the figures that they have inherited. Whether they have been able to project how the global economy will go, as you are saying, or how national activities, our market and other things will go. These are the issues. But one will be very surprised if they can only tell Ghanaians that all these relevant primary macro indicators are going to be projected below what they have inherited. A lot of people do not understand them. A lot of stakeholders are raising a lot of questions. Because I think we need more clarity.
I see, but is your side not shifting the goalposts? Because prior to the presentation of this budget, many of you were demanding that the finance minister presents the true state of the economy. And so if you are heavily dependent on the macroeconomic indicators, when the finance minister also presented what appears to be a gloomy picture in terms of the economy you left last year. So, for example, the finance minister says that the debt servicing buffers were empty, stalled projects about 55. There were loans in contracts amounting to some $3 billion that were not accounted for. No contract certificates, commencement certificates were awarded. Also, energy sector, and more importantly, the debt servicing that the previous government left behind, looking at the debt service repayment from 2025 up until 2028. The figures the finance minister produced were very staggering. And you think that if you are just talking about the macroeconomic indicators, which are far below what you left off, the government is not justified to say that they are fixing and resetting what you broke?
Honestly speaking, I am also not really in agreement with you making all these comments, but of course it's your job to ask me. Which government took over the mandate of Ghanaians from another government did not meet most of these? We had the same issue. You remember the road sector? Talking about even rollover when it comes to cocoa sector, they left rollover of almost 200,000 tons. They left debt to GDP. In fact, every country, the most important factor is not the nominal figure. I can tell you today, it's about the debt to GDP, your assets against your debt. This is what we know to talk about. And they left 72.5. We have left 61.8. They just told us today. So if you want to look at the critical situation in which we are, you first have to consider your assets against your debt or your debt against your assets. And they painted a very good picture. But if you want to go into specifics in terms of debt items or different areas or centers or whatever it is, then of course one will say that, the figures are showing ABC. But when you put them together against your assets, how is the situation like? Because they all left debt. When we took over 2016, the cocoa sector, the road sector, you remember the cocoa route, we had to even do performance audit, if you remember. So all these things, it looks like we are recycling the same thing. But the fact of the matter is that our debt to GDP today, it's an indicative of the fact that the overall performance of the country in terms of our economy is something to be very happy about or with, considering what we took over from them 2016. Because we also pay debt. It's relative in nature. Debt servicing is something that we were doing. We inherited some from them. They inherited from the previous government. And
Apologies there. I think we've lost an honorable member of parliament for Nsha, so Stephen Amwa, and also a deputy finance minister, but he's really speaking to us about the presentation of that budget, which was presented by finance minister Dr. Kasela Toforsin. He was telling me about how the government has lowered macroeconomic indicators as well as some of the issues in there. We'll try and raise him again on the line for him to explain to us what he makes of the revenue and expenditure estimate that the government has presented to Parliament. And so, if you are joining us here tonight on Eyewitness News and missed what the Finance Minister presented in Parliament today, I'll be happy to take you to citynewsroom.com and give you some headlines there. So, for example, the Finance Minister says that the government is committed to the 24-hour economy. Destiny has guided my path. Ato Force reflects on journey in Parliament. Also, we will cut government spending to reduce debt. That's Ato Force speaking. And of course, the big one was the government to scrap e-levy, emission levy, betting tax, and other taxes. But there's also this bit of the conversation here on Eyewitness News, which has to do with some increment in the growth and sustainability levy on mining firms, as well as the return of some sunset clauses on the tax architecture of the country. But this is still Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. We are taking a quick break. When we come back, we have more for you.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Oh, jump on now.
Go. Google me. At what time will you come back where I don't hear the sound of your car? Why you buy new car?
No, I not change my car. It be the same, right? It be the fuel way I change. Way one shouts it. Ever since I started using the all-new Excellium Premium Fuel, fortified with 3-in-1 action. Oh, Joe, now my car they run like electric car. No, it's so.
This is the type of fuel where they want to. Because now engine they cost. Where they want for way if I buy it, it go protect my engine. And with the small way I buy, I go drive, sir.
Absolutely. It's like strapping a turbocharger to your engine and giving it a protector. And what they bust my mind self be the 3-in-1 action, no? Excellium they prevent up to 99% of deposit. It be anti-wear, some be anti-corrosion. Won't pay when I open there.
Hey, so where can I find this magical fuel?
Just head over to any Total Energy service station and your car will thank you.
Hey, then make a finish my gobe fast, then rush go Total Energies. My friend, but why your hand my gobe inside?
I give you info. Make I feel the gobe too small.
Go.
Joe Pana. Excellium is designed to protect your car engine, decrease fuel consumption, and lower CO2 emissions. Don't say fuel, say Excellium. Choose Excellium, choose quality.
This March, we invite you to splash in the pool of cultural expression and soak yourself in a celebration of indigenous authenticity in our Heritage Month. Join us for the Heritage Month launch on Friday, February 28th, as we kick off a month of unforgettable experiences. Pack your bags for the Heritage Caravan, a week-long adventure across Ghana from March the 2nd to the 9th.
It's an opportunity to see Ghana in a more beautiful, and the people, the connection, incredible.
Discover the beauty and history of our land.
All their labors.
Savor the flavors at the Back to Your Village Food Festival, a culinary extravaganza on March the 29th and 30th.
The millet tozafi, the corn tozafi, we have the tubani, we have the wache, we have the dawadawa jollof rice. We also serve the local northern beverages, that's pito and zonko.
Taste the essence of Ghana.
The first one I was here, the second one I was here, the third one I was here, this one and the fourth one. And it's not just a bazaar, it's a festival now. And I'm so excited because this is what we should be doing.
Tune in to the Heritage On Air series on 97.3 Citi FM and Channel 1 TV each week.
Owusu is a general account name. It's Dev's character. Owusu. So that is why the appellation is Owusu Eduam. You see, when an Ashanti is Eduam, it means something that belongs to him. So Dev's character, he comes to you and grab you as if it belongs to him.
Delve into what makes us Ghanaians. The Heritage On Air series is sponsored by the National Lotteries Authority. Explore our places of interest, feel the rhythm of our music, journey through our religious history, and indulge in our indigenous Ghanaian food. Join us to celebrate our heritage in this Heritage Month, where every moment is a story. Only on Channel 1 TV and 97.3 Citi Citi FM.
Toils of the brave and the sweat of their labors, toils of the brave which have brought results.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
Thanks for staying with us here on Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. We are coming to you live from our studios in Accra, also live across our partner stations in the country. I am Ni Latte here with Hawa Idrisu Mustafa. Still speaking to more people who matter in terms of taxes and budget presentations in the country. We are joined on the line now by Chonam Akpelo, who is Greater Accra Chairman of the Association of Ghana Industries, that's AGI. Good evening to you, Chonam. Thank you for joining us on Eyewitness News. Finally, the maiden budget of the new administration has been presented. Is this budget something that really excites and gives hope to industry?
Good evening to you, and good evening to your cherished listeners, and thank you so much for having me. Yes, so about the budget. I'll begin by saying that we would thank government for some of the relief. If you recall, AGI has been at the forefront of advocating for some of these nuisance taxes to be taken off, and we're happy to see that it's been done. I mean, the Emissions Act has been taken off, the e-levy, which significantly impacts the way we do financial transactions in the business place, has also been taken off. And so to that extent, we're happy and commend government for it. However, we also a bit disappointed in the fact that the issue around VAT has not been concluded. In fact, our biggest hope for this budget has been that the VAT will be rationalized, as it were. And so we were keen and looking forward to having conclusion on that matter. But it appears that it hasn't happened today. Well, the finance minister promised that he would, in the near future, have a conclusion to this matter after consulting IMF and all the stakeholders. Our hope is that this will happen in real time, and given that the issue around VAT has been a big bottleneck that affects private sector, and so we are really interested in having this matter resolved in the shortest possible time.
But the hints that the finance minister presented in terms of the reforms when it comes to VAT. So, for example, he said that a VAT reform task force is going to be established, and also spoke about reversing the decoupling of the GET Fund and NHIL when it comes to the computation of the VAT, and also reversing the flat tax regime and adjusting the registration and all those things. These hints that the finance minister provided, aren't you happy about it? And if you say you want some timelines, when exactly do you think that these reforms should take full swing for you to be relieved as industry?
Yes, to be fair, the several reforms announced are extremely welcome. We realize that, for example, the Fiscal Responsibility Act will be reformed, and several of the reforms that we talked about will happen under this budget. And I'm saying this, to be fair, it's a great news, and we fully welcome this news. What I'm talking about really has to do with the VAT and its attended issues, which the minister says that they will get back to us. That's what I'm talking about. But in terms of the reforms, we're happy. But you see, there are key issues that we've been looking forward to. For example, the issue around the growth and sustainability levy and the special import levy. If you follow our advocacy all this while, you realize that we've been waiting for the sunset clause to end this year. But somehow the minister extended it to 2028 today, and that would naturally fall off guard, because the growth and sustainability levy, for example, which ranges from 1 to 5% of revenue, affect industry in a big way. And when we've been engaging government all these years about it, they assured us that by the end of this year, this levy, for example, will be gone. But to have it extended to 2028 is still a big blow to us. We intend to discuss with the government to see these 2028 dates will be reconsidered to ensure that we bring it closer, because we have made plans towards it. If you're taking 1 to 5% of revenue, it's naturally going to affect us in industry, especially in the time that we're expected to create more jobs under the 24-hour economy. We're expected to expand and employ more people. It's important that our revenues are protected. So the sunset clause extension will not work for us.
I can imagine the impact the extension of these sunset clauses will have on your operations, and also the bit of the increment in the growth and sustainability levy for mining sector, for example, and the maintenance in the other areas. But last week, you were also at the National Economic Dialogue, which I believe government was seeking input in terms of the budget that was going to be presented today. And so if I ask you if you feel that there was an expression of the National Economic Dialogue in the budget, what will you say to that?
Yeah, so in the future date, in a couple of days, we'll come back fully after the review. The budgets have just been read today, so we are yet to take our time to go through and align the issues. But some of the things on top of my head, like issues around the emissions levy, the e-levy of that came out during the economic forum, at least they've been addressed. And also about some of the many reforms we've heard today, there are things we talked about. The other issues, though, for example, the tax refund. The tax refund, you realize the minister reduced it from 6% to 4%. We're not sure what informed that, because there's several of our members, our private companies, are able to access their tax refunds. And so we know that a lot of people are not getting the tax refunds. So for the minister to reduce it, we are not really sure what assessment they've done to realize that they could actually minimize the monies available for duty drawback or the tax refund. So it's really one of the issues that we'll be inquiring about, really.
I see. The government may be under pressure announcing a raft of promises. Also, a lot of allocations being done today in terms of some of its major social intervention programs. How is industry prepared to help this government to achieve all of the things that it has outlined in the budget, at least in the first 1 year of its 4-year mandate?
Well, during the economic forum, AGI has expressed its commitment to work with government to realize its 24-hour economy agenda. Because if you look at the agenda, they focus heavily on manufacturing, tech sector, agri, and I think tourism as well. And so you see that about 70% of all the things we use are imported, including raw materials. So if government is able to develop the agriculture sector to supply the needed raw materials we need, it is easier to feed industry from raw materials produced locally, and that will minimize significantly the import costs and attended challenges. And so we believe that we are ready to flow, and we also like the idea that government listens to us a lot about the fact that they should expand agriculture and focus on commercial agri farming as opposed to subsistence, and also integrating the agribusiness into industry so that it becomes a flow from the farm gate to the factory and then to market. So we are ready to support with all of these and hope that government will keep its promise and also its determination. We know, having been in this game for long, we know that normally when governments come to power, they really like to impress and do a lot. And so we pray that they'll continue to keep the momentum and make industry a better place, especially in the wake of the African Union Continental Free Trade Agreement, where we're expected not only to produce for the Ghanaian market, but also to be able to export to the African market. It is important that we receive the needed support, as it were, to do this. Then the last thing I'll mention really has to do with the alignment of skills development and skills training to the 24-hour economy and to industry. So if you restart that fund and make sure that support that goes to skills training are tailored to be relevant to what industry require, we believe that synergy will go a long way to produce the needed manpower required for industry to flourish. Because one of the issues that came out very strongly during the economic forum has to do with the quality of labor and the quality of skills that industry require. Very often people have to go out of the country to bring labor from elsewhere. But it's important that we equip our people and give them the skills they require. And so if you look at the budget, that alignment really is interesting for us. And we hope that together we can build a nation that will be worth living in.
All right, thank you very much. That's Chonam Akpelo, Greater Accra Regional Chairman of the Association of Ghana Industry, still on the fallout of the budget. And I want to take you to paragraphs 173 and 176 of the budget presentation today. It talks about revenue mobilization and resource allocation. So the government is seeking to raise 223.8 billion Ghana cedis. That's the projection in terms of total revenue and grant for the 2025 fiscal year. However, the government is also setting total appropriation to be 290 billion Ghana cedis. I beg your pardon, 290 billion Ghana cedis. If you do a comparison, you realize that the government expenditure has increased compared to the 250 which was set last year. In terms of revenue also, it has gone up from the 186 billion that was set last year. And so if you're able to get governments or anyone in power, we will put a question to you. You said you are reducing expenditure. How come expenditure or total appropriation has increased? We'll try and work the lines and get somebody from government to explain this bit for us. But there's also a statement coming in from the former Director General of the National Lottery Authority. It has to do with what the Finance Minister said on the floor of the House and the explanation that the former Finance Minister, Amin Adam, also sought to give during the post-budget presentation. It has to do with what the Finance Minister said. They've abolished the 10% tax on lottery winnings, which is also betting tax, and that was what the Finance Minister said on the floor. The minorities tried to provide some explanation, and so that is the controversy we have on our hands here. Let's speak to Sami Ewuku. Before I speak to him, let me give you an excerpt of the write-up he has presented. So Sami Ewuku writes, on the so-called abolition of 10% tax on lottery wins. First off, it is important to clarify that lottery is different from betting and same as its taxes. The National Lottery Authority under the Ministry of Finance, while betting is regulated by the Gaming Commission under the Ministry of Interior. This distinction matters, yet it's often ignored for political convenience. Now, after listening to today's presentation by the Finance Minister, I couldn't help but to notice a rather misleading claim. He joins us on the line now. Thank you very much for joining us, Sami Ewuku. Good evening to you. Really, what explanation are you providing? Do you not feel as if the Finance Minister misspoke?
Well, first of all, good evening to your cherished listeners. And I think just as you have eloquently proposed, what he is seeking to do is to set the narrative right. So, the announcement made a couple of years ago by the then Finance Minister, the Honorable Ken Oforiatta, introduced these new taxes for betting and lottery. However, in the christening of the name by the Ghanaian people, they made the betting tax. But just as you have also explained, was read from my narrative, The betting is regulated by the Gaming Commission under the Ministry of Interior. And then the lottery is regulated by the National Lottery Authority under the Ministry of Finance. So, if our argument at that time was that you can conveniently tax, you can, if you want to, conveniently tax betting. But it shouldn't even be the end user or the player. It should be the company. But if you are taxing even the betting companies, they are not enjoined under any act to do good causes. That is charity. It is at their own discretion. If it comes to lottery, the National Lottery Authority is mandated by the Act 722 to, as part of its operations, conduct a lottery, raise revenue, pay themselves, pay into the consolidated fund, and also embark on what the Act calls the good causes. The good causes is simply for them, or for us in the spirit of the Act, for you to take care of the poor, the vulnerable, the physically and the mentally afflicted. And then again, any other consideration as deemed the Minister of Finance and the board of the NLA. So we made this argument with letters back and forth. Then eventually, Mohammed Amin Adam then convened us that the GRA meets up with the NLA and also, in fact, assigned one of his deputy ministers to engage us on the way forward. So it was never implemented at all. So if you are abolishing it today, you cannot even pinpoint that maybe the tax on the 10% of lottery even raise even 1 Ghana cedis or 10 Ghana because it was never implemented. And there are several correspondences between the NLA and GRA, the NLA and the Ministry of Finance. So I thought it was important to set the narrative right. Rather curiously, the Honorable Finance Minister, Dr. Forsen, today also did not mention that the tax on the 10%, in fact, the winnings on betting, has been abolished. He didn't say that. What he said was that the 10% taxes on lottery winnings, which is popularly referred to as betting tax, will be abolished or has been abolished. I hope you are getting the narrative.
Please go on. I'll come back to you.
Yes, that's fine.
No, I'm saying that you go on. When you land, I'll come back to you. I'm following closely.
In his own words and the narrative, if you want me to also read for you without mentioning a word, I can also do that for you in a second. So basically, in his own explanation and in the reading as well, what he did or what he said, yes. So what he said was that that's page 141. Mr. Speaker, we will abolish the 10% withholding tax on winnings from lottery, otherwise known as the betting tax. We will abolish the 10% withholding tax on winnings from lottery, otherwise known as the betting tax. So you must come again to also let us understand whether this is narrative extends to the gaming and betting industry. Because as for the lottery sector, it was never collected, it was never enforced. Because we NLA raise issues that one, it will be unfair since two, it will cripple the lottery sector, and also three, we also felt it will not government can't raise the needed revenue. And I tell you what, the NLA is owned by government, so it will be government taxing itself. The NLA's operations, about 45% is in the hands of illegals. So those who are playing with the government side, if you impose 10% on their wins, they will end up now moving in a sweeping manner towards the illegals that we don't know, they don't pay taxes, and they will have a day. So this was a sound argument that we raised with the Honorable Mohammed Amin Adam, and he saw reason in it, and then in a letter directed the GRA to convene a meeting for us to discuss. And all these letters are there. All these letters are there.
I see. That's a very elaborate explanation you give, but the conclusion is that the lottery winnings, the tax on it, was never implemented, right?
At all. It wasn't.
Ghanaians are also aware. I'm coming. Let me make my point here.
Please,
and Ghanaians are also aware that winnings on lottery were never taxed. What
Well,
we know,
players of the game will be aware that it was never implemented. If you say Ghanaians as a whole, if the person is not, doesn't play, you won't know.
So we are saying that winnings on lottery taxation never happened. However, you also admit that the explanation given to the 10% charged on sport betting is also known as betting tax, right?
Exactly.
So if the finance minister says that we are abolishing 10% on lottery winnings, which you say players in the game know that was never implemented, and uses the expression otherwise known as betting tax, what really is the point, or what's the cause of concern?
So what happens to those in the gaming and betting sector?
Because it was never implemented, so nothing like that exists.
No. It's a lottery that was never implemented.
Exactly.
The gaming and betting sector, it was implemented, and that is where a chunk of the outcry is coming from.
Exactly, and your issue has to do with lottery winnings.
Exactly.
Which I'm saying that we all know that it was never implemented. So I'm just
he's saying he's going to abolish it.
And I'm saying that is it not a point of perhaps the finance minister misspoke? Instead of saying sports betting, he said lottery winnings, which do not exist in the first place. And so how do you abolish? No, I just want to get to understanding. So the question will be, how do you then abolish something that's never existed?
So fantastic. That has been my point. That was never enforced, never collected. Yes, you are right. It's in our books, but it was never enforced because of the issues that we raised. So what I'm saying is that if the finance minister can go a step further and say that also with clarity, the tax, the 10% withholding tax on that of all betting that pertains in the gaming and betting sector too has been abolished, that is when then you can be making headway.
I see. So for you, when the former finance minister, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, also addressed the press post-budget presentation and said that the government never introduced bet winnings taxation, the explanation he sought to give was that the previous government never taxed lottery winnings. Is that what you are saying?
Honorable Amin Adam wasn't wrong because the finance minister in his presentation today to that of the lottery winnings is withholding tax as betting tax. So he is saying that that thing that you refer to as the betting tax was never collected. It's not there.
But is it also wrong to assume that the finance minister was referring to sport betting?
So that is the clarity he must bring. It's not up to you and I to speak on his behalf. He must bring that clarity himself.
And you want him to do that in Parliament?
Well, he's a colleague in Parliament, and we'll be debating this budget as well from next week. So definitely.
I see. I think your point is well made, and that's Samir Wuku, former Director General of the National Lottery Authority. This is still Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM.
The Minister for Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Ahmed Ibrahim, has attributed the delay in announcing the successful Metropolitan, Municipal and District Chief Executives to the high volume of petitions received during the vetting process. He explained that the committee had to carefully review these petitions, which extended the timeline despite working efficiently. However, in an interview with Citi News, he assured that the list would be announced soon.
Clearly, out of the 16 regions, we are done with 8 regions. We know we are doing 4 assessments. Global Info Analytic Report. We've done with the Bureau of National Investigation Report. We've done with the Regional Vetting Report of all the 261 districts. So what we have left now is the national vetting. And the national vetting itself, we have done with 8. We are pushing for the 8. You know, the final authority doesn't rely on me. It relies on the president. So, but the 8 that they are finished, they should mention that one. Then we will be doing endorsement of that as they are doing rolling out the country. Last administration, it was 9 months before they appointed, but we don't want to even spend 3 months. We want the remaining 8 regions left, and they will finish before the end of this month. Also,
that was the Minister for Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Ahmed Ibrahim.
97.3 Citi FM. This is Eyewitness News. I am Ni Lati here with Hawa Idrisu Mustafa. When we come back, we have the very latest in the world of business.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Gasaba. Smoke from firewood and charcoal is harmful and as damaging to our lungs as cigarettes. It can cause heart diseases leading to stroke and may even affect our eyesight in the long run. Grandmothers, mothers, sisters, wives, men, caterers, and everyone still cooking with charcoal, let's switch to LPG gas. The National Petroleum Authority has introduced the cylinder recirculation model in collaboration with local partners to make gas more accessible in all local communities. Whether you own a cylinder or not, join our CRM initiative. Simply show up at any exchange point near you with a small down payment to receive a filled cylinder or swap your empty one. Regular safety checks will be in place. Say ebisa musemo or gas. Afeidie gasaba. Switch from firewood and charcoal to gas for a better and healthier life. This message is brought to you by the National Petroleum Authority and the Ministry of Energy.
This year, something magical is happening. A celebration of tradition, flavor, and community. Welcome to the Back to Your Village Food Festival 2025.
Taste the heart of your heritage with mouth-watering dishes from across the country like Ademe with Akple, Tozafi with Ayoyo soup, Kokonte, Apapranta, Rare Quine, and many more. From rich spices to sweet treats, it's a journey for your senses. We're taking you back to your village.
Oh yes, let's recreate our age-old recipes.
But it's not just about food, you know. We're celebrating culture, connecting with family, and making memories that last a lifetime.
This March, let's come together and discover the flavors that make us who we are. The date is 29th and 30th of March 2025. The venue, Accra Metropolitan Assembly, and the time is 10 a.m. through till 6 p.m. each day.
The Back to Your Village Food Festival 2025, where food, fun, and tradition meet. See you there.
Interested vendors should call 0558 973 973 or 0205 973 973 to register. The Back to Your Village Food Festival 2025 is powered by Channel 1 TV with support from 97.3 Citi FM and is proudly sponsored by Gino.
Get the details. Every significant financial transaction, every market movement, and all the policies that affect your business. Citi Business News. Be informed.
Time now for Citi Business News on Eyewitness News. I am Hawa Idrisu Mustafa. The details now. Government has set the end-of-year inflation target at 11.9% for 2025 as it seeks to tame rising prices and restore economic stability. This comes after inflation worsened in 2024, ending the year at 23.8%, far exceeding the government 15% end-of-year target. There is more in the following report by Emmanuel Opon.
Mr. Speaker, in pursuit of the overarching macroeconomic objectives, the following macroeconomic targets have been set for the year 2025. Overall real GDP growth of at least 4% of GDP. Mr. Speaker, not less non-oil real GDP growth of at least 4.8% of GDP. Mr. Speaker, end period inflation rate of 11.9%. Mr. Speaker, primary balance on commitment basis of a surplus of 1.5% of GDP. Mr. Speaker, gross international reserves, including oil funds and encumbered assets, to cover not more than a minimum of 3 months of import.
Move to achieve the 11.9% inflation target. Dr. Forster noted that the government is rolling out a number of policies to curb rising inflation.
To address inflation, government will implement a number of measures to complement the Bank of Ghana and monetary authorities. So, Speaker, the measures to stabilize the exchange rate include the following. We will be establishing the Ghana Gold Board to enhance the generation of accumulation of forex to support the stability of the Ghana cedi. The Bank of Ghana will continue to implement its FX forward auction to support the stability of the Ghana cedi. Government's strong fiscal consolidation through the reduction in public sector spending and the fiscal deficit will reduce the pressure on the exchange rate. Mr. Speaker, our import substitution drive under the 24-hour economy involving domestic production of key products originally imported will reduce import and related FX requirements, boding well for FX stability. Right, Honourable Speaker, we are addressing the inflation problems.
That was the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasiola Tufosin. Now, concerns are mounting over the increasing presence of foreign competitors in the building and construction industry, with many fearing they are overtaking local businesses. Industry stakeholders argued that stricter enforcement of government regulations could help alleviate these concerns. Speaking at the Ghana Institution of Surveyors annual general meeting in Accra, Charles Eminsa-Kumsin, managing architect at Multi-Build Consult, stressed the need to protect local businesses within the sector.
Construction industry professionals in Ghana now are faced with the influx of foreign professionals, something we cannot do much about. One of the advantages of that is it brings competition amongst industry players. However, we need to tighten our regulation spaces. We need to look at our active registration council, engineering councils to make sure that professionals that are coming in, first of all, have the competence to even practice in the country. For them to also liaise with local architects and engineers, surveyors, to make sure that locals are also building capacity. I also believe that it's time for the professional bodies to also start training the professionals who are their members, so that just as the other foreign partners come into the country, we should also be able to export our trade to other countries.
Charles Eminsa-Kumsin is managing architect at Multi-Build Consult. Development Bank Ghana has reaffirmed its commitment to supporting women-led businesses with the necessary financial backing and skills development to enhance their growth and sustainability. This commitment was highlighted during an engagement with female students of the Design and Technology Institute as part of activities marking International Women's Day 2025. Speaking to the media on the sidelines of the event, Deputy Chief Executive of Development Bank Ghana, Michael Mensah-Bah, stressed the bank's strategic focus on equipping women with the tools to succeed in today's competitive business environment.
We believe that to be able to change the discourse of the country, we need to ensure that part of our efforts in supporting private sector is focused on how we are able to support women-led businesses. Women-led businesses have specific challenges that if you use the traditional way of supporting them would not necessarily yield the benefit. And one of them is the financial literacy part of it. So coming into DTI, where it's an institution that is focused on developing women in certain skill sets that traditionally are male-dominated, is actually in line with what we believe in. A lot of the women coming out of this institute will one day be looking to set up their own businesses. So right from the beginning, we are going to be part of this journey with these women who are here, who will one day work with DBG or partner with DBG when they come into the need of looking for funding and also providing technical assistance for their business.
Michael Mensah-Bah is Deputy Chief Executive of Development Bank Ghana. The Institute of ICT Professionals Ghana has stated that efforts are underway to secure a legislative instrument that will formally establish it as a recognized professional body. This move aims to enhance standard regulation and professionalism within Ghana's ICT sector. Speaking on the sidelines of the 8th anniversary celebration of the Institute, Executive Director Richard Amanfu noted that the move is expected to elevate the ICT profession.
You cannot just walk into
the legal space and just start running anything legal without going through the Ghana Bar Association. The same thing, you cannot just go into the health sector running anything health without going through Ghana Medical Association, etc. So we also realized that it has gone to a point where we need to regroup, not only putting professionals under one umbrella as a professional body, but to extend the call to government to really regularize our space so we can have a more direction towards ICT development. That unfortunately we don't have a timeline, but we're working closely with NITA because NITA is our regulator in the space, and we are hoping to have more conversations around this topic to be able to push forward our proposition. And already government has promised to give us all the listening ear, and we are hoping for positive responses as soon as possible.
Richard Amanfo is the Executive Director of the Institute of ICT Professionals Ghana, and in Citi Business News on Eyewitness News. I am Hawa Idris Mustafa. Up next is Point Blank.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
This March, we invite you to splash in the pool of cultural expression and soak yourself in a celebration of indigenous authenticity in our Heritage Month. Join us for the Heritage Month launch on Friday, February 28th as we kick off a month of unforgettable experiences. Pack your bags for the Heritage Caravan, a week-long adventure across Ghana from March the 2nd to the 9th.
It's an opportunity to see Ghana in a more beautiful, and the people, the connection, incredible.
Discover the beauty and history of our land. Savor the flavors at the Back to Your Village Food Festival, a culinary extravaganza on March the 29th and 30th.
The millet tozafi, the corn tozafi, we have the tubani, we have the wache, we have the dawa jollof rice. We also serve the local northern beverages, that's pito and zonko.
Taste the essence of Ghana.
The first one I was here, the second one I was here, the third one I was here, this one and the fourth one. And it's not just a bazaar, it's a festival now. And I'm so excited because this is what we should be doing.
Tune in to the Heritage On Air series on 97.3 Citi FM and Channel 1 TV each week.
The Owusu is a general account name. It's Dev's character. Owun Subain. So that is why the appellation is Owusu Eduam. You see, when an Asante is Eduam, it means something that belongs to him. So Dev's character, he comes to you and grab you as if it belongs to him.
Delve into what makes us Ghanaians. The Heritage On Air series is sponsored by the National Lotteries Authority. Explore our places of interest, feel the rhythm of our music, journey through our religious history, and indulge in our indigenous Ghanaian food. Join us to celebrate our heritage in this Heritage Month, where every moment is a story. Only on Channel 1 TV and 97.3 Citi FM.
Toils of the brave and the sweat of their labors, toils of the brave which have brought results.
Jump on now.
Go. Gugomi, at what time will you come back where I don't hear the sound of your car? Why you buy new car?
No, I don't change my car. It be the same ride. It be the fuel way I change. Way one shouts it. Ever since I started using the all-new Excellium Premium Fuel, fortified with 3-in-1 action. Oh, Joe, now my car they run like electric car. No, it's so.
This is the type of fuel where they want to. Because now engine they cost. Where they want for way if I buy it, go protect my engine. And with the small way I buy, I'll go drive, sir.
Absolutely. It's like strapping a turbocharger to your engine and giving it a protector. And what they bust my mind safe be the 3-in-1 action, no? Excellium they prevent up to 99% of deposit. It be anti-wear, some be anti-corrosion. Won't pay when I open them.
Hey, so where can I find this magical fuel?
Just head over to any Total Energy service station and your car will thank you.
Hey, then make a finish my gobe fast, then rush go Total Energies. My friend, but why your hand my gobe inside?
I give you info. Make a fill the gobe too small.
Go.
Excellium is designed to protect your car engine, decrease fuel consumption, and lower CO2 emissions. Don't say fuel, say Excellium. Choose Excellium, choose quality.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
This is 97.3 Citi FM. You are listening to Eyewitness News. I am Ni Latte. Time now for Point Blank. Tonight on Point Blank, we're still talking about the 2025 budget, but more specifically, putting the spotlight on the education sector, which happens to be one of the greatest components in terms of budget line items. A list of development in that sector. So the government has announced the uncapping of the Ghana Education Trust Fund (GET Fund) and allocated substantial resources to various educational initiatives in the 2025 budget. Finance Minister Dr. Kasel Atoforsen. During the presentation in Parliament, expressed government commitment to improving access to quality. My guest on Point Blank tonight is Executive Director of Africa Education Watch, Kofi Asari. Good evening to you. Thank you for joining us on Point Blank on Eyewitness News. Now, uncapping the GET Fund, also increment in feeding grant as well as capitation, plus the allocation for teacher trainee and nursing trainee allowances. These should be big game changers for the education sector, brought forward by the John Dramani Mahama government, isn't it?
Well, good evening to your choice audience. Well, I don't think that allocating over 200 million for teacher training allowance is a game changer. It's actually a wasteful expenditure, and we encourage the government to depart from the narrative. Having said that, committing to uncap GET Fund through a process of amending the earmark capping and alignment act of 2017, and then committing about 145 million Ghana cedis to capitation grants, committing about 3.5 billion cedis to the free senior high school program, in excess of 500 million for textbooks for basic schools, are very, very, very significant allocations to education. Significant in the sense that they are significant and unprecedented, and it must be acknowledged as such.
So for you, what the government announced in the budget, with the exception of the allocation to teacher training allowances, you think that the government is beginning from somewhere? But before we talk about your issues with the allowances, first, for the uninitiated, if we say GET Fund has been uncapped, what was the government saying?
Come again?
Yeah, I'm asking if you can explain to the uninitiated what the meaning of the uncapping of the GET Fund.
The capping of GET Fund was occasioned by a law that was passed by Parliament, sponsored by the executive in 2017, ostensibly to repurpose a portion of GET Fund, for other priority areas outside education. Bear in mind that GET Fund is an earmark fund, and it was established purposely for education investment. So it meant that up to 70% of GET Fund levy accruals was going to be diverted, quote unquote, to other priority sectors of the government. Anytime you buy a bottle of water, you will see a tag on it, which contains a VAT element. Now, 2% of the tax you pay on the water goes into debt fund, and so the total of all the 2.5% VAT payments we make ends up in a kitty which is called the debt fund levy accrual. At the end of the year, the total accrued is supposed to have been fully shipped to debt fund for funding education interventions and projects. But as also the capping, if 7 billion accrued through the 2.5% debt fund levy payments, about 70% would be diverted to other sectors that the government called priority sectors, and only 30% averagely would have been available for financing education interventions. So that is what the capping really meant. So last year, in 2024, for instance, about 7 billion was expected to accrue from debt fund, and a little about 4 billion was actually allocated, which was one of the highest allocations under the capping regime. And so simply on capping debt fund means that all that we collect from debt fund levy will be sent to the education ministry for use for investment in education. And that will mean that in the next 3 years, including this year, which is the fourth year, we are going to get up to 49 billion cedis the projections for debt fund levy for education financing.
So would anyone be right to believe that the stalled Get Fund project that we've seen in many of the senior high schools in the country will see some form of resumption?
Yeah, once you are capping Get Fund, it means that the education sector is getting about a third of what they should have.
Hello, Mr. Asari.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, your line was breaking. I think I can hear you now. Please proceed.
Yeah, so I'm saying that once you are capping Get Fund and you are taking away a significant portion of the debt fund levy accruals, the meaning is that you are denying education up to 70% of what would have been used to complete ongoing projects or started new projects, including infrastructural projects. And so partly the capping of debt fund in the past 7 years has hugely constricted the Ministry of Education's ability to fund education infrastructure in line with the demand for education infrastructure. And that is why, yes, you see some abandoned projects or stalled projects. I'm not saying that the history of abandoned or stalled projects started with the capital of debt fund, but I'm saying that it's actually worsened the situation of abandoned or stalled projects or inadequate financial capacity to provide funding to develop education infrastructure.
I see. We've also seen the budget announcing an increment in budgetary provision for school feeding. For example, the government increasing it from 1 Ghana cedis, 50 pesos to 2 Ghana cedis. Also, capitation grant has increased. Beyond the increment in these budgetary allocations, really, what more is it there when it comes to, the school feeding program in terms of the quality, for example?
Well, I think the decision to increase the per unit allocation of the Ghana school feeding program to 2 cedis per meal is welcome, even though inadequate. We had advocated for 3 cedis per meal, 3 cedis per meal. In line with how our senior high schools are set, the senior high school lunch is, I think, is 3 cedis. Breakfast is 2, supper is 2, and then lunch is 3. So we were advocating that we elevate it to the level of senior high school lunch. But I think from 1.5, I'm not too sure, 1.5 to 2 cedis, it's a significant step that must be acknowledged. We have continued to remind the government that the problem of the Ghana school feeding program is not just financing. It is a poor management which is centralized. In the history of SFPs, school feeding programs across Africa and South America, no country has been able to sustain the school feeding program under a centralized regime. The school feeding program, as conceived under President Kufuor, It's supposed to be a locally owned program, okay, locally led, where local resources will be prioritized, local caterers used, and local funding obtained. Now, where leveraging is required, central government comes in to support districts that have low income generating capacity to sustain the program. That's how it has worked across the world. And so we will urge the government to first of all decentralize the management and procurement of the school feeding program and ship it to the district. Finance it from central, that's fine. But then it is important for regulatory systems to put in place to ensure that the quality assurance is regulated. Quality is regulated. The quality of food served, the quantity of food served, the conditions under which food is prepared. Regulatory bodies, including FDA, Ministry of Education, and other policy level agencies, should have eyes at the local level to monitor quality assurance. That is how we believe the school feeding program can be improved. Beyond that, the politicization of the program limits its growth. The program is now a reward for political party union organizers. That is what the school feeding program has been in the past 2 decades. If we don't depart from using the school feeding program as a reward for party apparatchiks, it will never grow beyond its current state. And so these are the reforms we want to see, to inject some level of quality efficiency in the management of the school feeding program beyond the increasing financial allocation.
Right, a very strong one there. But if I heard you earlier in your opening remarks, you described the allocation made to the allowances for teacher trainees and nursing trainees as wasteful expenditure. Why would you say that if the government is in fact paying the first year academic fees for university students? Is there anything wrong with the government going ahead to give allowances to people who are not benefiting from the freebies at the university level?
You yourself, you know that the tertiary allowance is wasteful. You know already. So everybody listening to me already knows. You see, the free tertiary you mentioned, don't forget it includes this very teacher training colleges. Are you aware? It includes the tertiary, all tertiary institutions, including nursing and college of education. The issue is this: all colleges of education are tertiary institutions. Kofi and Amma are sisters. I mean, they are siblings. Kofi attends Accra College of Education to go and read BEd Basic Education and becomes a teacher, a licensed teacher, after passing licensure. Amma, who is Kofi's sister, also attends University of Ghana, which is just a kilometer away. And that's the same BEd Education program there. Right license, passes and becomes a teacher. They are both posted to go and teach in the same school, work under the same employer. How do you give Kofi an allowance of 400 cedis every month and ask that the school uses 200 to cook for Kofi and then 200 is given to Kofi directly? And then you tell Amma, doing the same program, to rather go and take a student loan. You see? Apart from equity, it lacks any logic. And so, apart from it being wasteful, it is inequitable, and it doesn't represent the best use of the taxpayers' funds. If we have a strengthened student loan scheme, it won't be necessary to be giving handouts, 200 cedis to adult learners to manage their stay on campus for the whole month. What we need is a responsive student loan scheme, with the embassy promised in the manifesto, student loan plus. We need a student loan plus to come and take care of all tertiary students, including those in nursing colleges, teacher colleges, agri colleges, environment schools, public universities, technical universities, and all public tertiary institutions, so that they will be given an amount that can really take care of them in school and not just 200 cedis to manage for the month. That is why we believe that spending over 200 million on teacher training allowances, spending over 400 million on nursing training allowances, when we are only committing 50 million for the women's banks, it doesn't represent the best use of taxpayers' cedis.
Grateful for your time. That's Kofi Asare, Executive Director for EduWatch, bringing us to an end on tonight's edition of Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. I am Neil Latte, show produced by Beverly London and Kwabena Wilson. Technical support coming in from Emmanuel Latte, producer Samir Afe as well. I am Neil Atelati. Thank you for joining us. The show returns tomorrow. Have a good night.
City News. We speak first. Reach our hotline on 0302 224959 and get interactive on Facebook, City 97.3 FM, and on Twitter at City 973.
City